Alrighty, folks. We are right at the 12:30 mark. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'd like to say thank you to everybody for coming in. This is our final webinar for the week. If this is your first webinar for the week that you're attending, welcome. We're happy to have you here. If this is your second or third or fourth, welcome back. We're glad you stayed. And if you've been to every single one of these all week, well, a special thanks to you. You are a superstar. You're going to go on our special list of special friends. Now, here's our contact information. My name is Gabe Alderson. I am the AmeriCorps Vista serving over at the Montana Career Lab at the Montana Department of Labor and Industry. Today, we're going to be focusing on looking at some strategies and tools that a recent grad or possibly an adult job seeker could use to plan out their career plan and their career future, involving education and training and occupational research and all that kind of fun stuff. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and reshare the screen. Don't worry if you don't have all this contact information down right now. We're going to come back to it later. For right now, I'm going to reshare the screen and we're going to head on over to the Montana Career Lab. Find it on my giant Zoom panel here. Here we go. Here we go. So here's the Montana Career Lab homepage over at lmi.mt.gov/career. Here you can find everything you might be interested in and or in need of when it comes to your facilitating of people's career futures, right? We have everything from resources for students and parents and educators to job seekers themselves. Even for the really youngsters, we have these little learning games that are really fun to play and everything. So the Montana Career Lab page is where you come to find what you may need. You can also order publications here if you might need copies of possibly the Montana Career Guide or some high school frameworks or something along those lines. You can even visit us on our Facebook page and leave a very nice comment for us. Become one of our Facebook friends. But today we're going to focus right here on this guy right here, the MCIS. We're going to click on that guy. That'll take us to our Montana Career Lab page or our Career Information System page. Now, we're going to be focusing on two different groups. That is the recent grad and the job seeker. They will have a different kind of MCIS edition than your middle schooler or your high school student. Now, that's not to say a high school student could not use their high school account to do a lot of this, right? So if you have a student who has an MCIS account from whatever high school they've gone to, if they started in middle school and they got moved to high school, perfect. They can go ahead and keep using that. But if you've got an adult who is not affiliated with any kind of school or affiliated with anything really, they have a Montana resident login option. They can come in here and they can choose their city or town and their zip code and sign in that way to create their portfolio and do their research. But for today, we're going to be focusing on recent high school grads and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to head on over to the high school version of the MCIS, go to the user side, where your student or user would arrive when they logged in. Now, you can tell when they're on the high school side of things because they got this big red bar up here. The addition of the MCIS that you will be using or a student will be using can be noted by the color of the bar. If it's a light green bar, a lime green kind of a color, that's for the younger students. That's for those junior high, middle school students, your fifth graders or your eighth graders, that area. And of course, red is for high school. That's where we are, your 9 through 12. And this color blue will be represented for your adults and your college students, right? Those who might not be associated with a high school or middle school, they have this nice dark blue color. So that's just one way where you can kind of tell where you might be playing around in. Now, of course, on the spectrum of your recent grads and your adult job seeker, they are in any stage of readiness, right? They don't just wake up one day and say, all right, I'm a recent grad, it's time to go out and get a job. You might have some folks, some old timers in your family who live by that kind of philosophy. But these days, generally speaking, it takes just a little more planning than that, a little more readiness than that. And depending on who a student might be, who knows where they might be. So we have something for everybody, right? For the very early stages of their career plan, we can do assessments, right? If they haven't necessarily discovered where their intrinsic interests might be, or where their academic skill sets might be, or even their job-related skill sets might be, or even not even intrinsic interests, but general career interests and things like that, where all those things might be. There, we have a variety of assessments to determine those. We can start somewhere right here, like a very quick career cluster inventory. which is a very nice one because a lot of students, they may know some careers. They may actually have some good information on specific kinds of careers, but they may not know the general job field itself, right? There are lots of careers that are closely related to other careers that they might not know anything about. So coming through something like this can be very beneficial because it will give you your results in a inventory cluster, right? So anything that's related within plants and agriculture like this will be included with other outside natural resource kind of things. So you can say, oh, I like that very much. Point yourself in that direction, install a ceramic tile. Maybe you like that a little bit. And you can see here it works on the Likert scale. We're gonna like things and not like things and be unsure about things, and we can just kind of fly through this a little bit. We're not gonna take it very seriously. As many recent grads and teenagers do, right? We're gonna go ahead and try to skip this guy if we can. We're not gonna spend all day doing this. We're gonna get some results with our secret little result button right here. Don't tell the students about this one, right? Click on that guy, and we can actually see the clusters where we might fit into. You say, oh gosh, maybe I don't know what's exactly in finance, but I matched up to it really well. You can click on this guy, see what finance is about. Are you the treasurer club organization? Do you enjoy working with numbers? Financy kind of things, right? And if this seems like something that might be compelling, you can pop down here to occupations and it will give a list of occupations within that career cluster that might be appealing to whatever student who found his way here. We have quite a few, by the way. And if you think, if you have a student who doesn't really know much about finance, maybe they think of like, oh, I think of finance and I think of Wall Street and bankers, but I'm not exactly sure who's actually doing what or what anything is called. This is a fantastic place to start. Say, I want to get involved in that world. I'm not really sure what anything is. A bank teller is not a banker. This is a fun one that we go through with the elementary school students sometimes. They think the bank teller is the banker and they're making lots of money and millions of dollars. And you have to explain to them, my friend, that might not be the situation that you understand, right? And of course, you have financial analysts and financial counselors, some of the less fun stuff. There's all kinds of varieties in here. A cluster can be a great place to start, just getting kind of a good familiarity with what occupations might exist in the actual field, right? So that's just one. And another one we have that we like to point out is the skills assessment we have. A lot of variety, nope, that's not the one we want. A lot of the variety of careers these days require a wide variety of skills. And so we have this skills selection worksheet we can kind of use here. You can come to the right and see that we have 5 very satisfying skills to choose, 10 moderately satisfying skills to choose, and 20 somewhat satisfying skills to choose, bringing us to a total of 35 skills. Now, if you sit down with your 18, 19, and 20-year-olds, maybe a little older, and say, hey, list me 35 skills, this might not be the easiest thing in the world to do. So mostly focusing on these very satisfying ones and then trying to fill up good chunks of these is really the goal. Filling it up to all 35, not necessary, but of course, the more the better. And we'll show you what that looks like here in a second. We'll just pick just a few. We'll say we love efficiency and we love performing and strength. And what else we like? We like installing and inspecting things. This is gonna be interesting. Right? Let's see, moderately satisfying skill. We love safety and coordinating. We're a big fan of writing. Let's see, why not calculating and estimating? This almost seems like something that's going to take us into the world of trades and manufacturing, maybe, who knows? Let's see, sound and shape discrimination. Those might be good ones. And we'll focus on some somewhat satisfying skills. Analyzing and listening to people jabber on and talking to people who'd rather jabber on than listen is not always fun. And persuading them to listen to you and all these other kinds of things, right? So we'll put in some of these, maybe some of the less fun stuff and rapid response or something. Right? We'll go ahead and we'll try to fill this up a little. Maybe you're not a big fan of teamwork and maybe you're not a big fan of instructing people to do things, right? They're not listening to you. And we can get some results. We're gonna say, well, what are some careers that might match this? It'll give you a summary of your selected skills, give you a chance to go over these and see if maybe you want to change one or two, right? And so we can come over and we can start looking at some clusters, or we can look at some occupations. The occupations is a lot of time a fun one to come to because you can see if there's anything that you actually really match up with. The idea you can see here is to go from 100 to minus 44, 100 being very good, minus 44 being very bad. A little bit odd of a scale here going from 100 to minus 44, but Minus 44 is clearly very bad. You want to be up close to 100. And we can see here, unfortunately, we did not score so super high in anything. And we didn't really take it very seriously. So we're not going to match any specific occupations very well. We can look at some clusters real quick and see if we match with any clusters. No, in fact, we did not take this seriously enough, and we got some negatives in here. Folks, negative scores are never good, are they? Right? So what do you do when you get a negative score in here? Just not matching with what you want to match with. Say there's an occupation that you just, gosh, you need to match it. That's really what you want to focus for, and coming up with something like this just really isn't doing it for you. It might dampen your spirits a little bit. Well, let's go back and let's see if there's a way for us to better figure out what skills we might need. Let's go ahead and start over. Yes, we want to continue. These were not good results. We'll come back down on the bottom here, and rather than just picking skills and seeing if we match, instead of just throwing these darts, what we can do is that we can choose occupation select. And we can actually choose an occupation that the student might want to match to. Let's say they were really interested, in something in that trades and manufacturing field. Let's see what's available for manufacturing. Let's say manufacturing engineer was really interesting, some of the tools and the invention and all that kind of fun stuff, right? You have selected manufacturing engineers. It will give us a list of the skills that would have given us that perfect 100 score for being a manufacturing engineer. So if you had that student say, hey, I wasn't doing so well, I wasn't sure what I could focus on, this would be great for them. They would understand that the math and science and analyzing, a lot of the research and development that goes in paper and computers rather than actually making anything, right? Using computers, technology designs, obviously, when it comes to making anything, and then all the stuff that comes with it, right? Working by yourself, working with people, having the ability to do any of it, presenting to others and all those other kinds of things. These will be critical in your manufacturing engineer future. And if that's something like you would, of course, save this information. You'd be able to use that. Now, those are for those who don't necessarily know maybe where they want to begin. Like I said, by the time you get to 18, 19, 20 years old in that frame, a lot of folks generally have an idea of what they might be interested in. They might have already actually, discovered some occupations that they think are up their alley. They just need to know a little more about them. And for that, they can just come over to the occupation tab right next door. Come on down to occupations if they can think of such a thing. Sometimes they've seen something on TV or they have a family member who does, that your uncle who works in the manufacturing machine shop, and he just bought that giant new cool truck. And now maybe you think that's what you want to do. You can come here and you can really see what might be available in terms of information for, wage outlook and all those kinds of fun things. So we can come back to manufacturing engineers. And we can get a little glimpse real quick and say, hey, earning up to $84,000 per year, that is nothing to put your nose at, is it? Not a big occupation. It is growing kind of a lot, but the annual openings are very few. And that means high competition. So when we think of those skills that we're looking at a minute ago, you'd really want to focus on them, be the best that you can be in something that is a high competition kind of field, right? But let's just say you got a student here and they say, oh, you trust me, I've been thinking about this for a while. I knew exactly where to come when I logged into the MCIS. I'm focusing on those kinds of things. Perfect. We love it. Well, let's go have a look at some possible wages. We can come here and we can see in Montana, kind of the lower end of things across kind of this state, we're looking at somewhere in the 70s, median somewhere in the 80s, and the higher ends up in the 90s. And across America, you can see this is actually fairly representational for the country. 70s, a little bit higher across the board, and maybe a lot of the other states, and a lot higher across the board in some of the other states. This could be taken in California, New York, and everybody else where all the engineers live, right? So if you're thinking about manufacturing engineer, maybe you think that Montana's somewhere else to go. And if that was your thoughts, like where else would I want to go in the United States? You could come down here to this select different states option. And unfortunately, it's a pop-up that Zoom doesn't really do a good job of sharing. But real quick, I'm just going to select some states here. I'm going to select Washington. I'm going to select California and Texas. Let's say those are some big time states. And we're going to display the data real quick for us. And real quick, we can see here that kind of above the board, right off the bat, Californian manufacturing engineers might be looking to make a little bit extra cash than those in Montana. And of course, that comes with some serious caveats like the cost of living, right? A lot of young people may have heard, but may not actually know that the cost of living in a lot of California is through the roof compared to Montana, though Montana's going up. And so this might not be the huge offset of, cash dividends in your pocket that maybe would originally look like just on a little graph like this, right? You look at Texas and Washington, as the United States would indicate. A lot of the other states are earning a little bit more money for being a manufacturing engineer. You just got to consider all those other expenses that come with living in those states. So that's one thing we like to have them look at. The other thing we like to have them look at, and that they should look at, and they really better look at, is outlook. If coronavirus has taught us one thing, is that what's great today may not be so great tomorrow. And the job you have today, you may not have it tomorrow. It might not have anything to do with the quality of your job or the quality of that business or anything. It could have everything to do with everything else. So trying to get something resembling an outlook, seeing how many positions might be available across the United States, 170,000 manufacturing engineer jobs, that's pretty good. Montana, it's small at 203, but if you were willing to move to one of those states, maybe you're looking at the better money, or let's face it, some students are kind of tired of Montana and they just want to go somewhere else anyways. Knowing that there is a large job field in other places could be a nice boon to you. If you go out of business somewhere else, well, maybe somewhere else is still open for you and you might still have that opportunity. So outlook, almost, if not just as important as the actual wages, right? And of course, let's say our student, our super student here, he says, oh, I know all that, and I know other states do better, and I'm already looking to get out of Montana, yada, yada, yada. Them young people, they think they know everything, right? And say, all right, perfect. Well, if that's the path you want to go down, we can actually pop over and look what degrees you might need, what occupations might be in that field. This is actually a fun one because manufacturing engineer, what does that mean specifically? You can be electrical or electronic engineer, chemical engineer, supply chain manager. That might not be one that they would think of. Robotics engineers. There's the wave of the future right there, right? So just coming down and see what some of the occupations that might be generally associated with it is another good place to start, just in case they're really gung-ho about going down that field, right? Now, let's just say they're gung-ho and they love the idea, and being an industrial engineer sounds like the bee's knees, right? I'm pretty sure kids use the phrase bee's knees. And come to programs to study, see what they need to be studying in college in order to get themselves there if they wanted to take the college route. Manufacturing engineering, obviously, of course, general engineering, industrial manufacturing. As you can see, there are a lot of options for your manufacturing engineers if they choose to take the traditional college post-secondary route. Now, let's be real. A lot of students do not want to go that route. We live in a time where student debt is through the roof. They're watching their older brothers and sisters and friends take on all this debt that's taking them decades to pay off and all these kinds of things. They don't all want to go that way. So in order to kind of make something available to them as well, we also offer some information on things like apprenticeships. And we're going to touch on that for just a moment because apprenticeships are a great way to get into certain kinds of career fields without having to go that traditional college route, especially when it comes to things like engineering, manufacturing engineering, the trades, right? We can pop over to the Montana Registered Apprenticeship page very quickly. But we can see what they have available. We can come down. Well, before you see what they have available, you see if it's anything you're really interested in, you can come down and see all the money. Apprentices who complete the program earn an average of over $63,000 annually. Hey, find me a graphic design guy fresh out of school who's earning over $63,000 like that. It doesn't happen as often, right? 90% of apprenticeship graduates are employed in Montana after completing their program. Find me a lot of high school and college grads who are having a tough time finding work. 90% is pretty good. It's not easy out there all the time. And 75 will work with the same employer who trained them, which is really nice. Having to apply skills and learn new skills everywhere you go can be frustrating. So that all sounds good to you. You can pop down to the apprenticeship sponsors and see who's actually offering these gigs out there, right? And as you can probably expect, most of what's available is going to be within the economic boot of Montana, up around the northwestern Kalispell area, down to the Missoula, Helena area, and then down to the Bozeman and over to Billings area, right? There's not always so much available in eastern Montana, but you can see in this color map that there are options available. You don't necessarily have to travel all over the state and move here and there in order to get some of these positions. And we can scroll down and we can see some of the sponsors of the apprenticeship positions. Montana Electrical JATC, a big one for both electricians and carpenters. Like I said, apprenticeships very often geared towards trades. But one of the fun things about apprenticeship is that it's not always geared towards trades. There are some hidden little gems in here that people don't often know about when it comes to trades, right? So 800 plus electricians for almost 500 plumbers, things you would expect. But if we scroll down a little bit and really get in here, we can see there's other interesting things. Medical record and health information technicians. That's not something a lot of people know you can apprentice into. Childcare workers. A lot of people think that you have to get these degrees and do all this other kind of stuff. You're going to apprentice into that in some places. Medical assistants, a fair amount of health and medical kinds of things, surprisingly to some people. Roofers, that's the one's always fun for people, right? Butchers and meat cutters. This one, folks, this is one to kind of keep an eye on. This is an interesting little niche industry where if you make the right moves at the right time, you can make lots of money. I was just talking to a fella very recently. He runs a meat processing place right here in Helena. And he's the only guy in town who takes whole animal carcasses during hunting season. And he's taken them from all over the central, southern, central, western, central, eastern region of Montana. And he was telling me that he's going to have to grow his site. He's hired on a lot of new cutters, and he's given them all $4, $5, $6 raises in the last few weeks in order to keep them on and put up with the work. So this is a growing field. Outdoor recreation we saw in the coronavirus pandemic was at a record high. People go out and hunt a deer. They don't know how to cut it up. They hire someone to do it. And there's not very many people to do it. So that's one interesting to keep an eye on right there that you can apprentice your way into. Shoe and leather workers and repairs, machinists, travel agents. Some folks don't even know that there were travel agents that even exist anymore, right? That seems like kind of a blast from the past there, but you can apprentice your way into that one. So you don't just have to do trades and be a boilermaker or an electrician to be an apprentice. You can do all kinds of really interesting, fun things. And that's just one little note that we like to make for some of those non-traditional job hunters. Another little non-traditional, I guess, alternative, you could call it if you wanted to call it alternative, would be the military. Now, in Montana, the military is kind of a big deal. Let's be real. We have a lot of military veterans here. We have a lot of students that join the military from Montana. I would imagine often in the attempt to get out of Montana, right? But we can come down to something like healthcare. Healthcare, one of the huge fields in Montana, and you can see that going into the military can also be a really good way to get experience, training, and kind of preferential treatment, depending on where you apply, right? For all kinds of healthcare fields. So never discount the students who want to go into the military for certain kinds of things. Now, I will say that they need to be careful in doing this. We had a student once who wanted to go into the healthcare field in the military because he wanted to be a medic for the Marine Corps. We had to explain to him that Marine Corps doesn't have medics. It's the Navy who does that. So make sure you join the right branch when you go to join the military if you have those kinds of plans, because they'll be more than happy to stick you somewhere else, right? Now, in the spirit of trying to save y'all some time, if this is of course the career hunting is not always the easiest thing to do, and we have certain kinds of little what we call power tools or power features you can use that really incorporate a lot of this structure. And one of those is the career plan. You come to the career plan page, gives you a basic overview like so many other things in the MCIS. And the area we're focusing on right now is kind of here in this next step areas down here for your 12th graders. Now, a lot of what we're doing still incorporates the looking deeper parts for some of these younger students and getting started for assessments and researching schools and whatnot. But if you wanted to go through the career plan process like we're doing, but you didn't want to have to sit through our webinars and call us up and all those kinds of things, you could come here, click on some of these options, and give yourself or your students kind of a walkthrough of what you might need to expect or what you might need to be working on in these phases of the process. Researching your options while you're in the 12th grade level. You'd be comparing colleges, you'd be considering the military. You might not be comparing colleges and considering the military when you're in 8th grade, right? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Very, very likely for 12th graders. So if you're ever curious about this process and we're not around to help you out for whatever reason, you can always come to something like the career plan right here to help you out. And we also have this fun little tool for the job search itself. Now, This is information that students who don't have a lot of experience within job hunting and job searching might want to come in and look at some of this stuff, information for interviews and applications and resumes. The MCIS does have a resume creator. We did an MCIS webinar about it just the other day. You can create a resume in here. You can upload a resume into it and add things on, and all the kinds of things you want to know. You can look up these action words. This will bring up a pop-up that you won't be able to see. You can look at a list of action words, buzzwords, as they are better colloquially known, to add some oomph, add some zhuzh, some emphasis to your resume. Now that's all well and good. That's the long way of doing it. We also have a fun little short way to do this for some students who just, they're not focused on much other than, maybe they don't want to go to school for a long time. They're done being in school. They've been there for 12 years, doing another 4 or 5, 8 years. The answer is no. Maybe they're stuck to 2 or less. They just want that AA and that certification. Maybe they don't want to start off broke, right? 15,000 is not a lot of fun, but 30 and above, maybe what it actually is doesn't necessarily matter. There are lots of students out there who just want to get to work a day and need to find out what's going to get them there the quickest. And this is a really great way to do that. This will sort out what a student just might be looking to, what kind of work they might be putting into versus what they might want to get out, rather than anything really specific. Some folks, a day job's a day job. They don't really care. That's fine. Not everyone has to have necessarily a dream job and a dream career, though that's what we prefer. But if that's not for them, then it's not for them. And if they want to spend 4 months to 1 year becoming a construction and well driller for the average of 50 G's, hey, go for it. That's perfect. I've actually got a cousin back in Texas, and he opened up his own well drilling and repair service, and he's doing very, very well. And I'm not joking. He used to be a rodeo clown. We're talking a very non-traditional kind of person. So this is something that can definitely be useful for those kinds of students, whoever those students might be. Right? Now, we have a few minutes here at the end of our presentation. Looks like we're down to 3 or 4. So if there are any questions of any kinds, y'all can, I believe there is a question Q&A option in the somewhere in here. So if y'all have questions, y'all can start asking your questions, general comments. If anybody wants something specifically demonstrated to them, now would be a great time to do that. And while people get their thoughts together and gather their thoughts, I'm going to flash back to our contact information stream so some other folks can get this written down or typed out or just memorize it with your photographic memory, whatever it might be. It seems pretty quiet.
Get my chat to work.
The chat is not available right now, but if you put something in the Q&A, we can address it. Or if you just want to unmute yourself and ask questions, like Gabe said, you can do that too.
Yes, Q&A, unmute yourself. The floor is open, whatever you would like.
I know that you guys were recording this. Can you tell us again where the recording will be available?
That will be on the MCIS resources page on the Montana Career Lab page. I believe, Danette, that is correct.
Yes, that is correct. And they probably, we have a new website up, so I have a little bit of learning to do on that, but I should hopefully be able to have those posted by the end of next week, hopefully. But yes, those will be out there on the Career Lab page. An easy way to get to the Career Lab page, if you don't already know, is by just going up into your browser address bar and typing in careers.mt.gov, and it will take you, it should take you right to the Career Lab page. Yeah, just as easy as that. And then if you go down, you'll see the MCIS resource section. And if you just click on that, all of our recorded webinars are posted to that page. It's down right underneath the upcoming webinar. So just underneath that one, keep going down.
The long list.
Right in there. So the new ones will be posted out there hopefully by the end of next week.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Oh, that's all right. It is Friday afternoon. We're gonna let you go. Once again, thank you very much for attending our webinars. We're gonna be having more. We hope you attend those too. Again, here's our information. Again, I am Gabe Alderson, the AmeriCorps Vista, thanking you for attending and wishing y'all a happy weekend.